MIP of Jordan, the next LeBron James, the next Kobe Bryant. The hype was real with this kid, and given his size and athleticism, well, athleticism is an understatement. That leaping ability, like when you have to be careful not to hit your forehead on the rim, this is like Vince Carter type of athleticism. Gravity just doesn't affect him as much as other people. That's insane. And on top of that, look at the guard skills. I mean, the guy has definitely handling ability. The quickness on this guy. I mean, I can see why he was the number 1 overall pick. But obviously this is an old video, and it's been 5 years in the NBA. And for most NBA fans, and especially Wolves fans, Andrew Wiggins has been cast aside as a bust. Somebody that's been there, done that, and has failed. And we know who he is by now, and there's just not a lot that he can do anymore that would change our minds. However, I might be the only one who's still living on Wiggins Island, and I'm especially excited now that with Gerson Rosas coming on board as the new president of basketball operations, that Andrew Wiggins might show out next year and show everybody that he deserves to be in the NBA as one of the best players in the world, and becomes the most improved player of the year next year. And the reason for optimism is that Gerson Rosas comes from the Houston Rockets, who are the most analytically advanced team in the league. And when you look at Andrew Wiggins, whose field goal percentage was 31% from mid-range, and within the first 3 years his field goal percentage at the rim was 63%, one doesn't have to doubt what Gerson Rosas is going to ask him to do next year. In Tom Thibodeau's system, Andrew Wiggins was used more as a floor spacer around Jeff Teague and Cat and Jimmy Butler. And obviously before that, with Rubio and Zach LaVine, he didn't get to handle the ball much. But something interesting this offseason is that Jeff Teague is really the only point guard on the roster. And the optimistic feeling is, what if Gerson Rosas develops Andrew Wiggins as a point guard like he did with James Harden? Obviously, comparing Andrew Wiggins to MVP James Harden is ridiculous, but back in 2012, when the Houston Rockets traded for James Harden, Harden was really trade bait by OKC. He was a guy that was on the bench, couldn't play defense to stay in a starting lineup, and around Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook, he was the odd man out. And obviously Houston saw something in Harden that made them believe that he could become something special, and it obviously panned out that way. The thing about Wiggins is some would question his heart or his personality and call him inconsistent, but looking at his box score, and you see when he scores 30 to 40 points, and who isn't playing? It's Derrick Rose and Jeff Teague. So I feel like he's more of just like a nice guy that doesn't like to take away people's spotlights, but giving the opportunity to star in a big role, he always comes through and stars in a big role. It's just a matter of the coaching staff realizing it and giving him the opportunity to be the primary guy.
I think, to be fair to Andrew, it's a process. It doesn't happen overnight. And, there's been different coaches, there's been different systems, there's been different platforms. The only thing that I can go off is the experiences that I have with Andrew. I've spoken with Andrew. He's very motivated about this. He's very excited about it. We're going to work in and day out, investing in him in every way possible to make him the best player. The reality is this: if I go out on the market to get a player, I'm not going to find a player that's got a bigger upside than Andrew. He's a very talented individual. He's got a ton of physical tools, and he's a great kid. We have to mature him into a great player, and that's our responsibility. We're going to do everything we can possible from the front office side, from a coaching side, from player development, player wellness, to help him be the best player.
Rosas also mentioned that they're going to question the norms, and that made me think that, Wiggins at point guard would be abnormal, especially with Wiggins at small forward the last 5 years. But also, I was thinking, when you think about basketball being a physical sport, Wiggins is only listed at 194 pounds on ESPN, and that's really light. So, if you want a lot of force, you better use them in space, not in the corner. Force equals mass times acceleration. Another thing to think about is the term positionless basketball and where the NBA is headed. And you think about players like Giannis, Luka Doncic, LeBron James. Well, maybe not LeBron James because he's 35, but guys like Ben Simmons, for instance. And it definitely makes sense to put Wiggins at point guard now, to put this team in this kind of competitive advantage. And I think the biggest competitive advantage is on defense, when you don't have a 6'2" point guard out there who can't really defend anybody but one position. And now with the NBA, how most teams really utilize the pick and roll, the point guard really needs to switch on multiple other players. And when you have a liability out there, it doesn't put your defense in a competitive advantage. The Los Angeles Lakers are a good example of that. They had Lonzo Ball as their point guard at 6'6", and they really switched a lot on pick and rolls. And in terms of defensive rating, they were a top 10 defense last year. Now, I don't think that Andrew Wiggins should be guarding other point guards, but I think Josh Okogie is totally built for that role. He showed a lot last year defending James Harden with that block on his step back three-pointer, and did an admirable job on guys like Russell Westbrook and Damian Lillard. So, with his size, his physical tools, 6'4", 7-foot wingspan, incredible energy, great feet on the perimeter, and just the way he always comes up with deflections, steals, and his rebounding ability. He's definitely a guy that deserved the starting job over Jeff Teague, in my opinion. So you guys are probably watching Andrew Wiggins over here drive on a defensive player of the year and score at will and make him look pretty average. Here he just knocked over Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert like a bowling ball. But yeah, doesn't seem like it's a sustainable strategy. Wiggins at 200 pounds to just drive to the rim over and over again on these NBA players who are much bigger than him. And if we take away Andrew Wiggins' mid-range game, I think the key for Gerson Rosas is going to be to develop Andrew Wiggins into a playmaker and learn to get his teammates involved on his drives to the rim. But also regarding sustainability, why not lower Andrew Wiggins' minutes to like 30 per game? If Jeff Teague is on your bench, he could play 18 minutes per game. He's been a starter his entire career. So give Wiggins less minutes and keep his motor hot. Don't let him fatigue, and by the end of the year he can play and stay fresh for all 82 games and at the same time be really good in the playoffs. So with Wiggins making plays out there, the biggest difference maker is gonna be Cat, the best offensive center in the league. So with Cat setting screens, it would be essential for him to roll to the rim to give Wiggins another option on his drives to the rim. And this is the perfect example right here against the Miami Heat. And the versatility with Cat is the biggest difference maker. Unlike Capella, who can only set a screen and roll to the rim, Cat is also really good at popping for a three. So the unpredictability in Cat is going to be huge for this offense moving forward. Cat's efficiency from all over the floor is going to make Wiggins' job so much easier, unlike Harden, who needs to give Capella perfect lobs by the rim, or Cat could get the ball anywhere on the floor and still find an effective shot. And with Cat being a 40% three-point shooter himself, this is going to be the biggest dilemma for defenses is what do you do? Because Cat can easily roll to the rim and pop for three, and it's just going to be so unpredictable. Do you leave your center in the paint and watch Cat shoot wide open three-point shots, or do you hedge to the perimeter and get toasted on a switch with Wiggins to the rim? And you watch really good defenses with Rudy Gobert and Steven Adams. There's just no chance those guys can stay on the floor with that kind of offense. Really, the only option is for those teams to bring in the guys covering the corner three-point shooters to come into the paint to stop Cat and Wiggins, and that will leave three-point shooters wide open in the corner, which would bring this team way more three-point shot opportunities, bringing them way up from 26 in three-point field goal attempts in the NBA this year. And if Wiggins stops taking mid-range shots and basically only practice three-point shooting, it'd be interesting to see how much he improves from 34%. And if I was to guess, I bet teams are always going to go under Cat screen and hope that Wiggins takes the wide open three instead of driving to the rim or passing it to Cat for three, because that's where the math is right for them. Here's the play that really made me believe in Wiggins as a playmaker. You see Harden is backpedaling right here from Wiggins in the fast break, and then steps into him abruptly, catching Wiggins off guard, and then Wiggins, in a split-second decision, finds Josh Okogie with two other bodies in the way and just makes a perfect pass, and just in traffic. It's just unbelievable. And then with Wiggins handling the ball all the time as a point guard, I'm excited to see how much that develops. Before, when earlier in the year, when Wiggins was a floor spacer, we almost forgot that Andrew Wiggins can dribble. And not until Ryan Saunders gave him the ball more and told him to be aggressive, driving to the rim. I mean, initially we saw that he really prefers to use his right hand, and then all of a sudden he drove left as well. But with Wiggins constantly dribbling, it's just gonna be amazing to what heights he reaches as a much better ball handler. And maybe he does end up just taking athletic wings off the dribble at some point in the playoffs in an isolation situation. Who knows? We'll see where that goes. Gerson Rosas was asked about the rebuild, and Rosas just completely dismissed that this is a rebuild and mentioned that they were in the playoffs last year and reached the third seed. And yeah, I'm completely agreeing. I think this team is set. They're about to enter their prime with Cat and Wiggins, and if they just play analytically correct, which fits their strengths and weaknesses perfectly, I can see them being a playoff team next year and contending championships very soon. But yeah, I'm excited. I mean, obviously this is just a prediction. I don't know what Gerson Rosas is thinking, and I could be completely wrong. Maybe Wiggins gets traded during the draft, and yeah, whatever. And maybe he does become most improved player on some other team next year, and I'm still right. But we'll see. So I don't know. Thanks for listening and watching, guys. Let me know what you guys think.